The Forbidden Crossing. Captain Elena Torres stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, her dark eyes fixed on the swirling crimson energy that stretched across space like a wall of fire. The Crimson Barrier had stood for over 3,000 years, separating the known galaxy from whatever lay beyond. No ship had ever crossed it and returned. Most species considered it a natural phenomenon, a cosmic wall that simply existed to keep them safe from the unknown. But Elena Torres was human, and humans had never been good at accepting limits. The communication array crackled to life as Admiral Sarah Blake's voice filled the bridge from the flagship stationed safely behind them. "Torres, I'm giving you one last chance to reconsider this madness. The Galactic Council has explicitly forbidden any attempt to cross the barrier. The Altarians lost 12 ships trying this same stunt 50 years ago. The Xanthorians lost an entire fleet 2 centuries back." Elena's jaw tightened as she looked at her crew. Dr. Marcus Chen hunched over his science console, his fingers dancing across holographic displays showing energy readings that would terrify most pilots. Lieutenant Jake Morrison checked and rechecked their weapons systems, knowing they might need every advantage on the other side. The rest of her crew worked with quiet determination, each understanding that they were about to attempt something the galaxy considered impossible. "Admiral, respectfully, humans have never tried to cross the barrier," Elena replied, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what they were about to attempt. "We've studied the energy patterns for months. Dr. Chen believes he's found a way to navigate through the storm fields using our new shield harmonics. If there's even a chance that crossing the barrier could lead to new resources, new allies, or new technologies, we have to try." Dr. Chen looked up from his console, pushing his wire-rimmed glasses up his nose. "Captain, the energy signatures are unlike anything we've seen before. They're not random as the other species believed. There's a pattern, almost like a code. If I'm right, the barrier isn't just a natural phenomenon. Someone or something created it, which means there might be a way through." The Altarian ambassador's voice cut through their communications, his translated words carrying obvious disapproval. "Humans, your species is young and reckless. The barrier exists for a reason. Beyond it lies only death and madness. Turn back now before you doom not only yourselves but potentially the entire galaxy." Elena had heard similar warnings from every species in the Galactic Council. The proud Xanthorians, the wise Altarians, the ancient Forthans, and even the mysterious Ethereals had all warned against this mission. They spoke of legends and old stories about things that lived beyond the barrier, creatures of shadow and hunger that would consume everything if ever released. But Elena had read those same legends, and she noticed something the other species had missed. Every story mentioned that the barrier had been created, not formed naturally. "All stations, report ready status," Elena commanded, her voice carrying across the ship's communication system. One by one, her department heads confirmed their readiness. Engineering reported that their new experimental shields were operating at peak efficiency. Navigation had plotted the safest course through the energy storms based on Dr. Chen's calculations. Medical Bay was prepared for whatever they might encounter. Most importantly, the crew was ready to follow their captain into the unknown. Lieutenant Morrison turned from his tactical station, his young face serious with responsibility. "Captain, all weapons systems are online. I've loaded our torpedo bays with the new quantum charges, and our point defense systems are calibrated for unknown threats. If something hostile is waiting for us on the other side, we'll be ready." Elena nodded, feeling a surge of pride for her crew. They were about to face the impossible, and not one of them had asked to be transferred to a safer assignment. This was what made humans special in the galaxy. Other species planned for centuries before taking risks. Humans saw a challenge and met it head-on, adapting and improvising as they went. The Crimson Barrier loomed before them, its swirling energy patterns casting an eerie red glow across the ship's hull. The energy readings were off the charts, showing power levels that could vaporize their ship in seconds if they made a wrong move. But Dr. Chen's calculations showed narrow channels of calmer energy, like rivers flowing through a storm. If they could navigate these channels, they might make it through intact. Dr. Chen, initiate shield harmonics, Alina ordered. The ship's shields began to pulse in rhythm with the barrier's energy patterns, creating a resonance that should, in theory, allow them to slip through the storm fields like a key fitting into a lock. The bridge filled with a low humming sound as their experimental systems came online. "Shields synchronized, Captain," Dr. Chen reported, his voice tight with concentration. "Energy patterns are stabilizing. I'm reading a clear channel approximately 2 kilometers ahead. It's narrow, but we should fit through if we maintain precise navigation." Elena took a deep breath, knowing that her next words would either make history or end in disaster. "All hands, prepare for barrier transit. Navigation, take us forward, 1/4 impulse." Follow Dr. Chen's guidance precisely. The UES Defiance moved forward into the Crimson Barrier, and immediately the ship began to shake as energy storms raged around them. The view screen showed swirling clouds of red and orange energy, like flying through the heart of a star. Alarms blared as their shields strained against forces that could tear apart molecular bonds. But the shield harmonics held, creating a bubble of relative calm around their ship. "Hull temperature rising," reported Chief Engineer Yamamoto from the engine room. "Shields holding at 93% efficiency. We're taking some energy feedback, but nothing critical yet." As they pushed deeper into the barrier, strange things began to happen. The ship's chronometer showed time moving irregularly, sometimes faster, sometimes slower. The gravity generators fluctuated, causing crew members to feel momentarily weightless before normal gravity returned. Most disturbing of all, some crew members reported seeing shadows moving through the corridors, shadows that disappeared when directly observed. Dr. Chen's instruments detected massive structures within the energy storm, objects the size of small moons that seemed to be artificially constructed. "Captain, I'm reading what appears to be a network of relay stations throughout the barrier. They're generating the energy patterns we've been following. This entire phenomenon is definitely artificial." The implications hit Elena like a physical blow. If the barrier was artificial, then someone had built it to keep the two sides of the galaxy separate. The question was whether they were keeping something out or keeping something in. As they navigated through increasingly turbulent energy fields, that question became more urgent with each passing moment. Suddenly, Lieutenant Morrison's tactical sensors screamed warnings. "Captain, I'm detecting massive objects ahead. They're not energy constructs, they're solid. Multiple contacts, configuration unknown, but they're big." The view screen cleared as they passed through the final layer of the barrier, and what they saw took their breath away. Floating in the calm space beyond the energy storm were ships, but not like any vessels they had ever seen. These were craft the size of small cities, their hulls covered in crystalline structures that pulsed with soft blue light. They moved with grace despite their enormous size, and as the Defiance emerged from the barrier, several of these giant ships turned toward them. "We're being scanned," Dr. Chen reported, his voice filled with wonder. "The technology is incredible, Captain. These readings suggest energy manipulation capabilities far beyond anything in the known galaxy." Elena's heart raced as she realized they had made first contact with an entirely unknown civilization. But before she could order her communications officer to send a greeting, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. These weren't proximity alarms or system warnings. These were combat alerts. "Captain," Lieutenant Morrison shouted over the noise, "long-range sensors are detecting a massive fleet approaching from deeper in this region. Configuration matches nothing in our databases, but their energy signatures suggest hostile intent. The crystal ships are moving to intercept them." As Elena watched in amazement, the graceful crystal vessels began to change, their peaceful blue glow shifting to brilliant white as weapon systems came online. But even as these unknown defenders prepared for battle, she could see they were vastly outnumbered. The approaching hostile fleet stretched across space like a dark cloud, thousands of ships advancing with clear, destructive purpose. Dr. Chen looked up from his instruments, his face pale with the implications of what he was seeing. Captain, based on the energy readings and fleet composition, I don't think the crystal ships can win this battle. Whatever's coming, it's bigger and more powerful than anything we've ever encountered. Elena felt the weight of command settle on her shoulders like never before. They had crossed the impossible barrier, made contact with an unknown civilization, and immediately found themselves in the middle of an interstellar war. But as she looked at her crew, she saw the same determination that had brought them this far. They were human, and humans didn't run from a fight when innocent lives were at stake. All stations, battle alert, she commanded. We came here seeking the unknown, and we found it. Now we're going to show the galaxy what humans do when faced with impossible odds. The galaxy's new hope. The crystal ship that approached the UES Defiance moved with ethereal grace, its translucent hull shimmering with patterns of light that seemed to pulse with life itself. As it drew closer, Elena could see that the vessel was even more magnificent than she had first realized. The crystalline structures weren't just decorative, they appeared to be integral to the ship's design, channeling energy in ways that human science couldn't yet comprehend. A voice suddenly filled the bridge, speaking in perfectly clear English despite originating from an alien source. The translation technology was so advanced that it conveyed not just words but emotional undertones. Human vessel, I am Elder Zix of the Keeper Council. Your arrival through the Crimson Barrier has been unexpected. For 3 millennia, no species has possessed the courage or capability to cross the storm walls we erected to protect our realm. Elena stepped forward, her training in first contact protocols guiding her response. Elder Zix, I am Captain Elena Torres of the United Earth Ship Defiance. We come in peace, seeking knowledge and understanding. We had no knowledge of your people or the true nature of the barrier when we attempted our crossing. The Elder's response carried undertones of both amazement and concern. Your species' achievement is remarkable, yet your timing brings both hope and grave danger. The fleet you see approaching are called the Harvesters. For generations uncounted, they have sought to break through our defenses and consume the life energy of the galaxy beyond. We have held them back, but our strength diminishes with each assault. Dr. Chen quickly analyzed the sensor data streaming from both the Keeper ships and the approaching Harvester fleet. What he discovered sent chills through the entire bridge crew. Captain, the Harvester vessels are using some form of energy-draining technology. They're literally feeding off the power sources of the Keeper ships during combat. Each battle makes them stronger while making the Keepers weaker. Lieutenant Morrison studied the tactical displays with growing alarm. The Harvester fleet consists of over 15,000 vessels, ranging from fighters to dreadnoughts. The Keeper defenders number only about 3,000 ships. The mathematics of this battle don't favor our new allies. Elder Zix's communication continued, and Elena could hear the weight of countless years of warfare in the alien's voice. We have fought the Harvesters since before your species learned to shape metal. Our crystal technology allows us to channel the fundamental forces of creation itself, but we are a peaceful people by nature. War does not come easily to us, and with each generation, fewer of our young choose the path of the warrior. Elena made a decision that would echo through galactic history. Elder Zix, humanity offers our assistance in your fight against the Harvesters. Our ship may be small compared to your vessels, but we bring something that might make a difference. We bring human ingenuity, adaptability, and the absolute refusal to surrender when fighting for what's right. The response from the Keeper Elder carried surprise and curiosity. Your courage honors your species, Captain Torres, but what can one small vessel accomplish against a fleet that has terrorized the cosmos for millennia? Dr. Chen looked up from his instruments with excitement lighting his features. Captain, I've been analyzing the energy interactions between the Keeper and Harvester technologies. The Harvesters drain energy by creating resonance frequencies that match their target's power sources. But our quantum shielding operates on completely different principles. We might be able to disrupt their energy-draining capabilities. Elena felt the familiar surge of excitement that came with solving an impossible problem. This was what humans did best. They looked at situations that seemed hopeless and found new angles of attack. Dr. Chen, can you modify our shield generators to create an interference pattern that would block the harvester's energy drain? More than that, Captain, Dr. Chen replied, his fingers flying over his console as he ran calculations. If we can get close enough to the harvester fleet, we might be able to broadcast an interference signal that protects not just us, but the keeper ships as well. We'd essentially be jamming their primary weapon system. Lieutenant Morrison immediately understood the tactical implications. That would level the playing field significantly. If the keepers can fight without being drained of power, their superior technology and defensive positions would give them a real advantage. Elder Zix's communication took on tones of amazement. Your species truly is remarkable. In 3,000 years of warfare, no one has conceived of such a strategy. The harvesters have always relied on their energy-draining capabilities to weaken opponents before closing for the final assault. Without that advantage, they're just another hostile fleet. Elena finished. And humans have been fighting hostile fleets since we first left our home planet. Elder Zix, we'll need detailed technical specifications of harvester energy systems to calibrate our interference properly. The data transfer that followed was unlike anything in human experience. The Keeper technology didn't just transmit information. It shared understanding at a fundamental level. Dr. Chen suddenly comprehended energy manipulation theories that would have taken human scientists decades to develop. The knowledge came with images of the Long War, showing how the harvesters had consumed entire solar systems, draining the life from billions of worlds. My God, Dr. Chen whispered as the full scope of the threat became clear. Captain, the harvesters aren't just raiders or conquerors. They're a cosmic plague. They consume the energy of living worlds until nothing remains but lifeless husks. If they ever break through the barrier and reach the main galaxy. Elena didn't need him to finish the sentence. Every world humanity had ever known, every species in the Galactic Council, would become food for these creatures. The stakes weren't just about helping new allies. They were about the survival of all life in the galaxy. The Harvester fleet had closed to within weapon range, and the first exchanges of fire lit up the darkness of space. The Keeper crystal ships fired beams of pure energy that could shatter asteroids, but as Dr. Chen had predicted, the Harvesters began draining power from their targets, weakening each subsequent shot. The battle was beginning to turn in favor of the invaders. Dr. Chen, initiate the interference pattern now, Elena commanded. All power to shields and transmitters. Lieutenant Morrison, prepare all weapons systems. We're going into the heart of that fleet. The UES Defiance accelerated toward the massive battle, its experimental systems generating an interference field that spread outward like ripples in water. As the field reached the first Keeper ships, something miraculous happened. Their weapons blazed with renewed power, no longer being drained by Harvester technology. The crystalline vessels began to push back against their attackers with devastating effectiveness. Elder Zix's voice carried tones of pure joy. Impossible. Our weapons are at full strength. Young humans, you have given us back our power. But the Harvesters quickly adapted to this new threat. Elite hunter units broke off from the main fleet and converged on the Defiance, recognizing it as the source of the interference. These were sleek, predatory vessels that moved with frightening speed and precision. Incoming hostiles, Lieutenant Morrison reported. 12 ships moving to intercept. Their weapons are unlike anything in our databases, Captain. Elena gripped her command chair as the first Harvester shots struck their shields. The energy that hit them wasn't just destructive. It felt hungry, actively trying to devour their ship's power systems. But their quantum shields held, designed by human engineers to resist exactly this type of attack. Return fire, Elena ordered. Show them what human weapons can do. The Defiance's torpedo tubes launched a spread of quantum charges, each one calibrated to exploit weaknesses Dr. Chen had identified in harvester hull construction. The weapons struck with devastating precision, and for the first time in millennia, harvester ships began exploding under enemy fire instead of simply absorbing damage and growing stronger. The sight of harvester vessels being destroyed sent shockwaves through both fleets. The keepers pressed their attack with renewed vigor, while the harvesters began to show something they hadn't displayed in centuries of warfare: uncertainty. As the battle raged around them, Alina realized that humanity had found its place in the cosmic order. They weren't the oldest species or the most technologically advanced, but they brought something equally valuable. They brought the ability to see problems from new angles, to adapt and overcome when others had accepted defeat. The harvester fleet began to retreat, their 1,000-year advance finally halted by the combination of keeper technology and human ingenuity. As the last hostile ships disappeared into the cosmic deep, Elder Zix's communication carried tones of profound gratitude. "Captain Torres, your species has accomplished in one day what we failed to achieve in 3 millennia. You have not only helped us win this battle, you have shown us new ways of thinking about warfare itself. The galaxy owes humanity a debt that can never be fully repaid." Elena looked around her bridge at the faces of her crew, seeing the same pride and determination that had brought them through the impossible. "Elder Zix, humanity doesn't seek debt or payment. We seek understanding, cooperation, and the chance to build a better future for all species. Today, we didn't just cross a barrier in space. We crossed a barrier in possibility." As news of the human achievement spread across both sides of the galaxy, everything changed. The species that had warned against crossing the barrier now sent messages of congratulation and requests for alliance. The keepers opened their ancient libraries to human scientists, sharing knowledge that would advance human civilization by centuries. But perhaps most importantly, the galaxy learned that the young species called humanity brought something precious to the cosmic community. They brought the audacity to attempt the impossible, the ingenuity to solve unsolvable problems, and the courage to stand against any threat to protect innocent life. The crimson barrier still glowed in the depths of space, but it was no longer a wall separating two halves of the galaxy. It had become a symbol of what could be achieved when beings refused to accept limitations and dared to reach for the impossible. And at the heart of that achievement stood humanity, proving once again that the most powerful force in the universe wasn't technology or ancient wisdom, but the simple refusal to give up when others said something couldn't be done.